Testing, check, check. Hello, welcome. This is the Ninja Robot Studio LLC stream. I play video games and VR experiences and talk through them from a UX designer's perspective because I have over 24 years of experience designing across multiple platforms, including web, desktop, kiosk, mobile apps, and most recently XR with a focus on VR and training sims. And I also create a lot of educational content around the space, around at UX for XR. And if you want to check out those things, if you're new, you can check out the link tree, link to all the things. I have a couple of on-demand courses I'm working on, some more focused around VR training. Starters, I'll be doing a whole bunch of different things hopefully in the future, but right now I'm focusing on doing a couple of courses on training XR and XR training, and that's what we're working on right now on stream. I go by genre. I play video games and talk through them from a UX designer's perspective. It can be a 2D game or a VR experience. I don't have any augmented or mixed reality experiences because I don't have the headsets for that. Those aren't like commonly available for consumers, so not going to be something that I'm going to be able to try until they get a consumer grade one out there for people. And so focus is on VR right now, but I do. So I'll play a game and then talk about it. And then at the end of that, we'll do what's called a rose, thorn, bud exercise, where we talk about what did we like about it, what was a good thing, what went well, taking into account UX best practices for gaming, for training, and for VR, because we're working on training. And what did not go well, what was a low point, what did we not like, based on, again, those best practices. And those are the thorns. And then the buds are, what opportunities do we see about how can we make this better? What would we do differently if this were our thing? If this were an actual project that we were working on, it would be, how would we improve our product? But since this is not my project, I didn't create these training sims, I'm just evaluating them. Then what can we learn from that? What would we do differently if it were our project? What questions, follow-up questions do we have? Next steps, those are the buts. So the benefit of doing it this way, as opposed to just writing out notes, is we tend to get into dissertation mode, we tend to get into report mode, and when we do that, it first of all takes longer, but it also makes it more difficult to take that information and turn it into other things later. Yes, you still can do that, but it takes more time. So doing it on Post-its, I do it on Post-its because it forces you to write very short, incomplete sentences, just enough to get the point across. And we can clearly delineate, here's what's working, here's what's not working, here's what we're going to do about it. And then we can take that and turn it into whatever. We could do graphics, we could do reports, we could do, in my case, I'm going to be creating some VR XR training courses out of this information that I'm gathering here. So all kinds of things that you can do from this. And yeah, so that's what I do every stream on Thursdays. And then once we go through that rose, thorn, bud exercise, we'll then talk about, okay, if this were a 2D game, how would we translate this into XR? And if it is a VR game, what would we need to think about if it were augmented or mixed reality? What best practices would we need to keep in mind in that case? And what best practices do we need to keep in mind based on what we have come across in this experience? I have gone through many different ones for training through here. It's a lot of information here that's taking a while to load, but that's what I'm working on right now, training. And again, I go by genre. I've already done tabletop RPGs. If you want to check out the links on the About page on Twitch, you'll see links to all those previous videos, all the previous ones that I've done. I need to update it. I don't think I've put all the training stuff in there, but all the previous genres are in there if you want to check those out. And so I'm still working on fire safety training VR. I've been working on this one for a few weeks because I have to cut my stream short right now for a meeting that's been recurring. Hopefully that'll be over soon, and I'll be able to get back to normal streaming. But I'm cutting them short right now for a recurring meeting. So I need to decide. I think that what I want to do, because I'm almost done with this one, I've been going through and scrubbing the video of me playing it and writing out the rose thorn buds. Ideally, what would happen is people in the audience would participate and help take notes during me playing through a game so that we can work on this together. That will then give the people that are watching experience on this type of exercise so that you can learn by doing while you're participating in the chat. And that's only going to help you if you're trying to get into the space. Thinking critically, thinking through projects, getting past the awe factor and thinking critically about what's good and what's not good about this one, or what's working, what's not working. So I just recently added a new Thorn here because I was going through trying to figure out what I should be doing next, because I finished going through the video last time, but I want to double check. I want to rewatch this last portion to make sure I didn't miss anything, because when I left off last time, I was talking about the events of this section of the training is strange because of what they're asking you to do based on what would you be asked to do in real life. I've been through fire safety training in real life, because when you work in an office building, depending on the company, they will go through certain safety training. Like I used to work at the Willis Tower, which is the tallest tower in Chicago, and they had training and there were things that you were supposed to do, and depending on, and I've been in other companies as well that had different responses to things, and so it's going to vary what these people have done. This is a let me see if I can get that Steam info up. So we need to take into account what the goals were of this project, which was to create an internationally approved, which is right there is a feat in and of itself, an internationally approved fire safety training that meets all the standards of international standards. That is a feat in and of itself. And now there's a train driving by that's probably going to honk any moment now. It always likes to wait for me to be on stream or recording or something before it comes by. But yeah, there it is. I don't think it picked up on the mic, but yeah. So the goal of this was to create an fire safety training that is in full correspondence with international standards. And this is a demo. It's a free demo that they've provided. You can play. You can buy, if you go to their website, you can buy the different training. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not making any money off of them. I'm just evaluating this because I finally found a training sim that is an actual legit training sim available outside of the company to the public. And finally, because I've just been playing video games because that's all I could find. But this is an actual legit training, which is awesome because now I can teach legit training with a legit example. So that's the goal, is to do that. And so that's a feat in and of itself. The problem is that whenever you do this, let's see, our origin point, last name. What is a patronymic? What is a patronymic? Oh, is that your last name? No, that's your last name. I don't know what patronymic is. Anyway, um, maybe that's an international word. What is patronymic? Maybe use words that people know. A name derived from the father. Yeah, last name. I guess it's not always your last name. Okay, whatever. Evacuation. According to the evacuation plan, following escape routes, takes place in an office building. Certified people, certified professionals. So they use this for corporate training. Okay, so this is, they're selling this for office buildings to provide training for their people. So that's the goal of the game. Okay, so so in light of their goals, which is this international training that they are creating for any office building to use with a license, I've got a lot of usability issues with it, and I've also got a lot of questions. And since I'm not an expert, I would, of course, always defer to professionals in this because I'm not a professional. I don't know what the international standards are, but I have questions around like how this was set up and stuff. So then I had issues with the way this last part was set up because the chain of events is strange based on my own training that I've had at different buildings and different companies. And again, it's like depends on who the company. Maybe the company is giving this training only to the people that are designated floor wardens or whatever, floor marshals, whatever the name they have for it per company. But each floor will have designated people assigned to that floor who are responsible for doing things like calling the fire department or 911 or whatever. Those are the people that are designated to do that so that we always have someone, this is their job, so there's not chaos by everyone assuming that someone else called. And there's not chaos by 50 different people calling about the same fire, because that can also be chaos. You have designated people to do those things in real life. And maybe this training's for them. If it is, then okay. Yet still, there were some issues that I had with it, like they're using a wired phone on a wall that keeps you in this building that is on fire, as opposed to using a cell phone and moving while you're calling to help evacuate people if that is your job and to do whatever. Why are you on a wired phone when there's an electrical fire on the same wall? So that's the question I have here. It's like some strange things that I'm not sure, because I know how training goes. I've created training before. You've created similar training with this 360 image. Hi, welcome. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Type of question to move from place to place. Is that in VR in real time? Yeah, for the training. You created a fire safety training or just a similar training? How have you been anyway? It's been a while since I've seen you. Um, so this I don't know. I would always defer to like the experts, of course, but what I would say is because I've created training before, and you can often lose sight of things to try to solve a design problem. And when you get into that mindset of losing the sight and solving the design problem, you end up asking people to do things that you would not ask them to do in real life in that actual situation. Um, oh, nice, Europe. How was it? Was it good? Oh, pretty much evacuating a building. Okay. Nice. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. Um, so I would say I would follow up with what are the international standards because I don't know. Um, so I would look at those and or ask the SME if this were IRL. I would ask the SME and consult this with the SME. Um, um, and it's like I would say, don't lose sight of the safety you're teaching just to, well, just to solve a design problem while solving, because it can be, it's easy to do. I've, I've been there. Um, why are they using wire phones at all and not moving and calling on a cell phone? Yeah, I don't know the standards. So these would be like things I would want to, there are issues that I have with it, and I would want to like, follow up on that. Depends on your audience. Are you an office worker, security guard, firefighter, or person designated to instruct people? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because I'm wondering, because this isn't saying specifically who the target audience is. It's saying it's just training, corporate training for international standards. But yeah, if it were targeted towards training like the floor, because like when I worked in the Willis Tower in Chicago, Sears Tower, tallest building in Chicago, um, there's a floor monitor or a something, right? And so um, they have a job to do and they have a specific thing to do. Whereas, um, yeah, and we had to do the fire drills and go down the stairs during the fire drills in this tall building. Yeah. Fortunately, it was down and not upstairs because I would not have made it upstairs. Um, but yeah, um, those stairs are steep. Those stairs are steep in those stairwells in the Sears Tower. So you have to hold on to the rail or you can get dizzy going down the stairs because they're steep. And then you have to keep like turning and going down and turning and going down. It's, yeah, going up, I wouldn't be able to do going up. Yeah, I would, I have asthma. I would not be able to do it. Yeah. Um, yeah. So depending again on their target audience. So if their target audience is, um, like a floor warden or something, they're going to have different responsibilities than a standard worker, right? So I think um, maybe that's depends on person taking. on the target audience, but they're not making, again, clear who that target audience is. It's like called a floor. I can't remember what it's called. A floor monitor or warden, whatever, has different responsibilities than the normal office workers, like everyone else. The jobs of the office workers is to get out of there, not be a hero. So yeah, it depends on your audience. Again, isn't clear in there, at least on Steam. Now I need to go back and look at their website. Maybe it's more clear on there. There is a discrepancy in what the voice on the phone tells me versus what the trainer tells me in this video. So, like, the voice tells me to leave, but then the trainer tells me to go put out the fire myself. Are designing for VR or AR? So right now I'm evaluating a VR experience, fire safety training VR. So you would have a screen where you choose your character, floor monitor versus normal office work. Yeah, and I have actually created training, been on teams where you chose like what was your job role before you do that. Yeah. So in this one, there's a panel. Like I've got the panel up right now. There's this panel that comes up when you call the here, I'll just play it for you. Extinguisher. It didn't tell me what to look for. All I know about is the gauge now that it's in the green, but it didn't tell me what to look for with the handle and stuff. This panel comes up. Sorry, the cinematography's terrible. The photo's kind of annoying. Popping up a photo. I don't know why they're doing that. This huge panel here is I interact. I'm trying to interact with the UI. It's not. Again, right hand. I had to switch my controllers physically because I can't reach with my right hand. Name the full address of the object where the fire was. My arm's messed up. So if this were an emergency situation, they need to be able to do stuff with one hand. I actually don't know where I am. Yeah, so it's this big panel where you enter your responses on the panel. And then you're the one responsible for putting out the fire with the extinguisher and calling and everything.
Move to the place of fire. Pull out.
Yeah, in this one. So if you want to watch that one, it is this video. So there's a conflict in what is being told. The voice says to leave, but then the trainer tells me to go put out the fire myself. So if you may consider adding like clarification in here, if you need to do something conflicting with what the emergency services says. And then the emergency services also hung up on. And is that something that they would do in real life. Get out of the building. Click. Here, let me see. That question made no sense. Nature or purpose of the object.
The ignition of which object caused the fire? Give your last name, first name, and contact phone number. Help is on the way. Leave the building.
Activate the manual call.
Leave the building. Click. Okay. So maybe it was me hanging up the phone to leave. Maybe it wasn't them hanging up on me. Okay. And that tells you to check for stragglers, but it doesn't let you do so with the way they have it set up, because they're using teleportation pads, which limit where you can go. So either move the pads to the correct locations, or let them teleport freely. That would let them go in and check the rooms for people. Because it's asking me to go check for stragglers, but then there weren't any stragglers, because it would tell me how to interact with the straggler, but there aren't any. Making me wonder if I am leaving someone behind. If there are no stragglers designed into it, no need to teach how to interact with them with the controllers, because they're telling you how to interact with them with the controllers. And there aren't any that I'm aware of. Because you can see in the rooms, and then once I left the building, it said I had successfully completed it, so I'm assuming successful completion means I didn't leave any stragglers behind. I hope. Okay, so I think that, yeah, it totally depends on who your target audience is for this. Let me see if I can get their website. Yeah. Okay. So they do work at heights, lockout, tag out. This is a lot of stuff I was involved in when I worked on safety training. Not these specific ones, but those types of training. Confined space, yeah. So this is the one we did the free trial of. And just takes you back to Steam. So, wait, what's this free one? Personal use license, learning mode, 3 limit. Oh, so there's a 3-hour limit per month. Okay. Guessing they're in UK. Because of the fire brigade, they use the term fire brigade. So there's several free trials. Cool. Yeah, it doesn't really say who the target audience is for that, because it's just taking me back to Steam. Let's see. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't say. So yeah, it's not clear. Okay, so I think I've gone through the video enough. I think I've scrubbed it enough. And so let me think. With this, I'm gonna have to like go back in there. I don't have a headset hooked up today. But let's think about classroom. So I've already gotten here classroom settings for XR. Like your plans for distribution matter whenever you're creating your training. We would want to take into account and design accordingly to however it is that you're deploying this thing. And what I had said was design for the classroom, since that method won't hurt if you're an individual doing it. A method for just designing for the classroom is not going to make anything worse for the individual by going that route. It will hurt the other way. Like in this one, it seemed more like it was designed for the individual instead of the classroom. And so the voiceover kept repeating itself and you couldn't have a conversation. So if you're in a classroom setting, that's going to be way too much going on at the same time, and you're not going to be able to like concentrate because the voice was really annoying because it kept repeating itself. And then so yeah, there was a floating panel that followed you around and blocked your view of everything when you first joined the world. Memory cues and tooltips. Let's see. Did I do a bud for everything? Yep, and I have some extra ones. So I have not written any content on accessibility in VR because I need to do more research on it. But we would want to always like design with accessibility in mind. I can spell it. Yeah, it would have been fun for you to be on the stream while I was going through this. It would have been helpful and fun to, since you've already done this kind of stuff. Yeah. Could have brought up more things that I hadn't thought about. Or it can't give me counter arguments on stuff that I say. Yeah, then I have a video on NPC behaviors, but my video on NPC behaviors is around guiding people, directing people on things, not on just natural NPC behaviors. I don't have any content on like natural NPC behaviors yet. But I'll write that down. Like, NPC behaviors really matter in VR way more in VR than any other platform. Thanks for the follow. How do you say that? Is this Spicy Nubs? I'm not sure how to say that. Sorry. Follow. I'm just thinking about translating into XR. This is already an XR thing. Some of the best practices that we need to keep in mind. Do I have? Obviously, the best practices for training would be included here. The best practices for locomotion. Right, using, I don't think I have anything on usage either. I don't think I've published anything on internationalization either. I've written stuff. I haven't published anything. I don't think I did. I wrote it. I never published it. Because when I wrote it, it was for 2D. I need to translate it into 3D. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm evaluating the existing sim. So assuming, so if this were my project, which it's not, but if it were my project, this is how I would evaluate it and send feedback to the people creating it. Like if I were using a vendor to create it, this is how I would do that. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a bunch of research on training sims because I'm going to be writing a report on, I'm going to be doing a lot of things. I'm going to be writing a report on it, most likely. These are my findings for the state of training, VR training. And these are what we can learn from it and what we can, what best practices we can follow when we're creating our training. And I'm working on, sorry, my voice is going out. The weather does not want to stay still here. It keeps changing. And whenever the weather changes, my voice goes out. But I'm also creating some training classes on XR training. I'm going through different training sims and recommend best practices. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. If you want to check out the playlist, let me get the playlist link. So you can check out YouTube. Hold on. You can check out the YouTube, but this is the training for this training specifically, the playlist. I've been doing this one for a while. Training. Like it automatic. So I played Rover Mechanics Simulator, Car Mechanics Simulator, Wrench in both desktop and VR, and Oculus First Steps, Oculus First Contact, and Lab Training VR and Fire Safety Training VR. And then this is the synthesis that I'm doing on it, this training genre. Because I play by genre, so I've already done tabletop. I did not create any of these games, I'm just evaluating them. And teaching you, using them as a teaching tool for UX for XR. So I didn't create any of these. The stuff that I've created is all like under NDA and it's only available within a company, so it's not publicly available or anything. Yeah. But this is the synthesis I'm doing on it. I've already gone through 6 of them, but then after I did this, I went back and played fire safety training and lab training VR because these are legitimate training sims instead of just games. Because I was having a hard time finding legitimate training that is available publicly. So now I'm going back and I'm going to add these to all my synthesis. And then whatever it is that I do, which is going to be a few things, I'm probably going to write a report so that I can teach people how would you write a research report, like, because this would be called in the professional world a competitive landscape research. That is, a competitive landscape research is something that a designer would often do up front before they start designing their solution. So like if I were going to create a training sim, before I started doing that, I would go see what's out there, how have they solved these problems, what's working, what's not working, what can our solution do that fills in the gap or does better, what can we learn from it. And then so then I'll probably, and then what we could possibly write a report on this. No, I'm not getting paid for this. It's free for y'all so that y'all can learn how to do this stuff, and for my own nerd erudition. And I'm using this to create my own training stuff. So there will be something that I will do that will be like, I'm going to create an online course for training sims, like creating training sims from all this research that I will charge for. But I'm not getting paid to evaluate these sims. No. It's all for free. But the research will be very valuable to me doing something else. But the reason that I do the stream is to help people like y'all learn. Is if y'all are trying to transition into this field, into this industry, these are the non-glamorous things that they don't always teach you in school. You usually learn all the glamorous stuff. So this is the day-to-day stuff that you usually don't see until you actually work somewhere. So I'm trying to get those things that you usually aren't going to see in school out exposed to you so that you get that valuable knowledge as well, because it's hard enough getting a job as it is. But as much knowledge as you can get out of it, trying to get you work experience without having a job, because that's the big conundrum, is they want you need to be able to hire junior people, but they always want junior people to have experience, but they won't hire them unless they have experience. So how do they get experience? So that's here why I'm doing this. So that's the story. But then I'm also creating training online courses that will help fill in the gaps of the things that you're going to learn in school. I'm not meaning to compete with the schools. It's more like gap filler. It's for the stuff that they're not going to teach you in the other courses, because those other courses are still valuable. So once I'm done going through fire safety VR, I'm going to add it to here, to this big training synthesis on all of them, where I'm looking at overall patterns of overarching things that are working on these things. Is the hardest thing, is the experience. I see it all the time because I'm on LinkedIn. I'll retype my link tree in here. I don't know if you can see the chat history, but there's the link tree to the link to all my things. But I see it all the time on LinkedIn because I'm connected to a lot of junior designers or people trying to get into this space, get their foot in the door. And they're all like complaining because it's like everyone's asking for experience. Like, how do you get experience if you're not going to hire people unless they have experience? It's like, let's be reasonable here. So this is my own little solution to the problem, that as much as I can do reasonably. Yeah. I would like to get to the point where I can get you actual project experience, but I'm not there. I don't have the funding for that. I don't have the, because I would have to pay you, to give you that experience, because it's, unless I were a nonprofit, which I'm not. So there's like laws in America around that. So I would have to pay you, and I don't have the funding to pay you, so I can't give you paid work experience like I would like to do. But I can at least give you free experience. So I'll do what I can where I can. So overarching things that are working is what I'm, and then sometimes we have standouts in games, like these are the things that this game was doing really well that really stood out to me that I think that we should learn from. And like Rover Mechanics Simulator has this really cool skill learning path concept, and they have a free demo on Steam if you want to check it out. But skill learning path, so you can decide which career path you want to go down in Rubber Mechanics Simulator. And that's really cool because that would be a great asset to add into training. Like if you're having a program, a training, a VR program, any XR training program, that they have these paths that they can follow. And when they pick their skill path, they can learn what they need for that skill path and focus on that. And that's a really cool thing that I think is great. That should be a part of training. If it's a lot of work to get there, but over time, when you're training programs, you can get there. I've seen it in action in like corporate career paths, setting up corporate career paths. So why not with our XR training as well? And so I've got overarching versus individual, and then the same thing on overarching issues. Like, what's the issue that I'm seeing across all of these training sims that this is a trend that we want to get away from, and then standout issues that we want to learn from, and then like overarching, what are my recommendations based on all of this? How would we do this better? And if you check out the Twitch About section, you should see an example report of what I did for tabletop RPGs. And so I'll be doing something very similar to that for training. But for training, I'm thinking about doing it more like less of an article and more like a professional report that you would turn over actually if it were for work. So the structure, so that you can learn the structure of how the reports are created and turned over, which is very close on the tabletop RPG one, but I want to do even closer on this one so that you actually have that example. This is how a report is written. One of the ways a report is written is how I write them. So if you want to learn, because I usually make them educational as well as informative whenever I write them. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And then this is going to eventually turn into at least a couple of online courses. And then once I'm done with that, I'll move on to another genre. I've done tabletop RPGs and platformers and working on training, so I need to decide what I'm going to do next. Y'all have any thoughts on what you would like me to do next? Because I want to do, let's see, what are you processing? Which thing? I want to, what was I saying? I forgot. Yeah, I already forgot. Oh well. I know I want to do MMOs, and I know I want to do branching narrative. And choices matter. There's a lot of genres I want to do. I just have to decide which one I want to do next. Once I'm done with training. But yeah, that's what I'm working on now. Fire safety. I think I am, for the most part, done with the fire safety one. I just need to start getting it over into this. So I'm gonna have to start that next time because I have a meeting that's about to happen in 10 minutes. So that's probably a good place to stop. And then next time I'll start working on the synthesis of fire safety training, putting it into this big report here. That's what I'll do next time. Next Thursday. So I will. Thanks for hanging out. Branching scenarios is quite a challenge. Yeah. It's come up to me in previous training sims, and I've always wanted to like study it more. And combining VR with IoT. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out today. And I'll see y'all next time if you're available. I'll see y'all next time. Have a good rest of your week and a good rest of your day. And nice to meet you, Swasi. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It's good to see you again, David. I'll see y'all. Thanks for hanging out.